All right, welcome to your deep dive.
Excited to be here.
This time, we're going to crack open The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens.
Oh, I love that book. So many good things in there.
Seriously, I wish I had read it when I was, an actual teenager.
Right.
But hey, never too late, right?
Definitely not.
We've got tons of stuff from the book, stories, quotes, and of course, all 7 habits. We'll unpack it all for you.
Yeah, it's like a cheat sheet for life, almost.
Exactly, a cheat sheet for leveling up your life. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
One of the things that really stood out to me was the story of Linda. You remember Linda, right?
Yeah, Linda, the one who gets kind of roped into the school play.
Yes, even though she's terrified of public speaking.
Totally.
But then, surprise, she ends up being amazing, a total natural.
And that's a perfect example of a paradigm shift.
Okay, explain that paradigm shift.
So it's like we all have these beliefs about ourselves, right? And sometimes those beliefs are wrong. They're holding us back.
Like we're wearing the wrong glasses.
Exactly, like those warped glasses the book talks about.
So we're seeing things all distorted.
And a paradigm shift is like, suddenly you see things clearly. You realize, hey, maybe I'm not bad at math. Maybe I just haven't found the right way to learn it.
Or maybe I am a good public speaker. I just never gave myself a chance.
Yes, exactly.
It's about challenging those stories we tell ourselves, those limiting beliefs.
Yeah, it's like changing your mental software.
Ooh, I like that. A software upgrade for your brain.
Right. And speaking of things that shape us, let's talk about habits.
Ooh, yeah, habits. Those things are sneaky.
Totally. The book says they're like autopilot running in the background of our lives, you know.
We've all got them. Good ones, bad ones, the whole shebang.
And they really do shape who we become over time.
Okay, so what's the difference between a good habit and a bad habit?
Well, think of it like this. Good habits are like putting money in the bank.
Gotcha.
They pay off in the long run. Things like exercising regularly or reading or being kind.
Okay, so bad habits are like...
Bad habits are like racking up debt. They might feel good in the moment, but they cost you in the long run.
Oof, yeah. Like procrastinating.
Exactly. Or eating junk food all the time.
Ugh, yeah. Definitely guilty of that one sometimes.
But the good news is we can change our habits.
That's reassuring. So where do we even start?
Well, the book talks about the importance of living by principles.
Principles. Okay, break that down for me.
So principles are like those universal truths. Honesty, fairness, integrity, things like that.
They're kind of like your North Star.
Exactly. They guide your decisions even when things get tough.
I love that. Your moral compass.
And the book has this really powerful story about 2 brothers during a war. Their loyalty to each other is tested, like big time.
Wow.
It really makes you think about what principles you'd stand by no matter what.
What would I do in that situation? Heavy stuff.
Definitely. But important to think about, right? To know where you stand.
Absolutely. Okay, so speaking of tough situations, the book talks about being proactive versus reactive.
Right. Like, how do you respond when things don't go your way?
Do you freak out?
Or do you stay calm and think things through?
It's like that classic example, someone cuts you off in traffic.
The perfect example. Do you yell and scream?
Honk the horn like a maniac.
Or do you just let it go?
So the book says proactive people are basically in control of their emotions.
They are. They choose their response instead of just reacting.
Okay, so how do I become more proactive? I mean, I can get pretty reactive sometimes.
Well, the book gives a whole table of proactive versus reactive language.
Okay, like what? Give me an example.
So instead of saying there's nothing I can do, you could say, let's look at our options.
Ooh, I like that. A much more positive spin.
It's about taking responsibility and focusing on solutions.
I'm starting to see how this all ties together. Being proactive, living by principles, it all helps you make better choices.
Right. It gives you a solid foundation.
And speaking of taking care of yourself, the book talks about habit 7, Sharpen the Saw.
Oh, yes. That's one of my favorites.
What is that all about?
It's about renewing your energy, taking care of yourself.
So, like, getting enough sleep.
Yes. Eating healthy food, exercising.
Pampering yourself, maybe a little spa day.
That too. But it's also about taking care of your mind or heart, your soul.
So it's more than just physical, right?
Exactly. It's about feeling good in all areas of your life. It's like the book says, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Ooh, that's a good one. You gotta fill yourself up first.
Exactly. So you can give your best to the world.
I like that. Okay, so we've talked about habits, principles, proactivity, and sharpening the saw. What else is in this treasure trove of teen wisdom?
Well, next up, we'll dive into those time quadrants. Have you heard of those?
Ooh, time quadrants. I'm intrigued.
It's a game changer for time management.
All right, I'm ready to learn all about it. Stay tuned, everyone.
Okay, so those time quadrants, right? They're all about figuring out where your time actually goes.
I'm all ears, because honestly, time management is not my strong suit.
Well, get this. The book breaks down all our activities into 4 quadrants. It's kind of like a graph.
Okay, I'm picturing it. 4 squares, right?
Exactly. And each square represents a different type of activity.
All right, lay it on me. What are these magical quadrants?
Quadrant 1, the first one, that's for stuff that's both urgent and important.
Okay, like what kind of stuff?
Think deadlines, crises, things you absolutely can't ignore.
Gotcha, the gotta do it now stuff. So what about important things that aren't super urgent?
That's where quadrant 2 comes in. And get this, the book says this is where we should be spending most of our time.
Really? Why is that?
Because it's all about being proactive. It's taking care of those important things before they become a total fire drill.
Okay, I can see that, like planning ahead instead of waiting till the last minute.
Exactly. Things like working towards your goals, building relationships, taking care of your health.
Stuff that matters in the long run.
Right. But the thing is, it's so easy to get sucked into quadrant 3.
Oh no, what's that?
That's for all the stuff that feels urgent but isn't actually important.
Ooh, I feel like I live in quadrant 3 sometimes. Give me some examples.
Think about all those interruptions, like responding to every notification, getting sidetracked by other people's drama.
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean. That stuff can eat up your time. So basically, quadrant 3 is the master of distraction.
Totally. It keeps you busy but not productive.
And then there's quadrant 4, right? The final frontier.
This one's a bit of a black hole, to be honest.
Oh no, what goes on in quadrant 4?
It's for all those activities that are neither urgent nor important.
Like what?
Mindlessly scrolling through social media, binge watching shows you don't even care about, basically just wasting time.
Oh yeah, I know that quadrant well. It's very comfy in there, but not very productive.
Not at all. So the key is to minimize time in quadrants 3 and 4 and really focus on quadrant 2.
So it's not just about working harder, it's about working smarter.
Exactly. Being intentional with your time, figuring out what really matters, and making it a priority.
Okay, that makes sense. I need to get better at prioritizing. So how do those time quadrants fit into the whole 7 habits framework?
Well, it's all connected, right? Being proactive, putting first things first, thinking win-win. It all helps you make better choices about how you spend your time.
Right, so the habits give you the tools to conquer those time quadrants.
Exactly. It's about taking control of your life instead of letting it control you.
I love that. Okay, so time quadrants check. What else do we need to know about to become highly effective teens? Or, highly effective adults who wish they were teens again?
Well, now we're getting into what the book calls the public victory. It's all about those habits that help us build strong relationships.
Ooh, juicy. I'm all about relationships. So which habit kicks off the public victory?
Habit 4, think win-win.
Win-win. I love that concept. But honestly, it seems like Etnan's always trying to win at all costs these days.
I know, right? It's so competitive out there. But the book argues that win-win is actually the most effective way to interact with others.
Really? Even in competitive situations?
Especially in competitive situations. Because it shifts the focus from, I need to beat you, to how can we both succeed?
Interesting. So it's about cooperation, not just a competition.
Exactly. It's about finding solutions that benefit everyone involved.
Okay, I can get behind that. So how do we move away from that win-lose mentality?
Well, the book contrasts win-win with a few other approaches, like win-lose, lose-win, and lose-lose.
Okay, break those down for me.
So win-lose is that classic dog-eat-dog mentality. It's all about coming out on top, even if it means someone else loses.
Yeah, I get the promotion, even if it means my coworker gets passed over.
Exactly. And then there's lose-win, which is kind of the opposite. It's where you constantly let others win, even if it means sacrificing your own needs and wants.
So being a people pleaser.
Yeah, kinda. And the problem with that is it can lead to resentment and burnout.
Makes sense. So what about lose-lose? That sounds pretty grim.
Lose-lose is basically a downward spiral. It's when everyone loses, nobody gets what they want, and everyone ends up feeling frustrated and angry.
Ooh, yeah. I've been in those situations. Not fun.
Not at all. So the book argues that win-win is the only truly sustainable approach to relationships.
Because it's about building each other up, not tearing each other down.
Exactly. And it creates a much more positive and collaborative environment.
I like that a lot. Okay, so we've got win-win. What's the next on the public victory agenda?
Next up is habit 5, and this one's all about understanding. It's called seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Ooh, that's a good one. I definitely need to work on that sometimes. I'm a great talker, but not always the best listener.
Well, the book makes a really important point that everyone wants to feel heard and validated. And the key to that is listening. Really listening.
I get that. It's when you feel like someone genuinely cares about what you have to say, it makes you feel seen,
Exactly. And the book actually outlines 5 poor listening styles that we're all guilty of sometimes.
Oh no, spill the tea. What are they?
Okay, so the spacing out, pretending to listen, selective listening, which is where you only hear what you want to hear.
Ooh, guilty as charged on that one. What else?
Then there's word listening, where you're only paying attention to the words but not the underlying message.
So you're hearing the words, but you're not really understanding the meaning behind them.
Exactly. And finally, there's self-centered listening, which is where you're just waiting for your turn to talk.
Ouch. Yeah, I've definitely been guilty of that one too. It's you're not really listening, you're just formulating your response in your head.
Exactly. So the book challenges us to become more aware of our listening habits, and practice genuine listening.
Okay, so how do we do that? What's the secret to becoming a better listener?
The book recommends a technique called mirroring.
Mirroring, like looking in a mirror.
Not exactly. It's about reflecting back what you hear to make sure you understand, like summarizing what the other person said and asking clarifying questions.
Ooh, I see. So it shows the other person that you're really paying attention and trying to see things from their perspective.
Exactly. And it can make a huge difference in how effectively you communicate.
Mirroring. I'm going to try that. Okay, so we've got win-win and seeking first to understand. What's the final habit in this public victory trifecta?
Habit 6, synergize. This one's about teamwork.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Exactly. But synergy is about more than just working together. It's about creating something truly amazing when different people with different strengths and perspectives come together.
So it's about more than just like adding 1 + 1 to get 2, right? It's about getting like a 10.
Exactly. It's about that creative spark that happens when people collaborate and build on each other's ideas.
I love that. So how do we create that synergy?
The book talks about valuing differences and seeing them as assets, not obstacles. It's about embracing those different perspectives and figuring out how they can work together.
So like, instead of saying, you're wrong, you say, that's interesting, tell me more.
Exactly. It's about being open-minded and curious, and it can lead to some pretty amazing breakthroughs.
I can see that. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here with these public victory habits. Something's been on my mind.
What's that?
Well, all this talk about sharpening the saw, taking care of yourself, it sounds great, but it's hard to actually make time for it, you know?
I hear you. Life gets busy. But the book emphasizes that self-care is not selfish. It's essential.
But how do you prioritize yourself when there's always so much else going on?
It's about making a conscious decision to put yourself first sometimes. It's about recognizing that if you're not taking care of yourself, you won't be able to show up fully for anyone else.
Yeah, I get that. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly, and the book gives a ton of ideas for how to sharpen the saw. Things like getting enough sleep, eating healthy, exercising.
The basics, right.
Right, but it's also about things that bring you joy and nourish your soul.
Like what?
It could be spending time in nature, listening to music, reading a good book, whatever lights you up.
Okay, so it's about finding those things that fill your cup back up.
Exactly. And making them a regular part of your life. It's an investment in yourself, and it pays off big time.
All right, I'm convinced. Time to sharpen my saw. So we've covered 6 habits. What's the final habit in this amazing journey of self-discovery?
We've reached the pinnacle. Habit 7, sharpen the saw. And guess what? We've already been talking about it.
Wait, really?
Absolutely. It's all about taking care of yourself, body, mind, heart, and soul.
Ooh, I see. It's like the grand finale, the culmination of all the other habits.
You got it. Because when you take care of yourself, you're better equipped to handle everything else life throws your way. You're more resilient, more focused, more energized.
Like all those other habits are the ingredients, and sharpen the saw is like baking them all together into a delicious, fulfilling life.
I like that analogy. It's about creating a life that nourishes you on every level.
Okay, so recap, sharpen the saw is about taking care of your physical health, your mental well-being, your emotional state, and your spiritual side.
You got it. And it looks different for everyone. The key is to find what works for you and make it a priority.
So it's not just about like going for a run or eating a salad. It's about finding those activities that truly bring you joy and make you feel alive.
Exactly. And when you prioritize those things, everything else falls into place. You're more present, more engaged, more effective in all areas of your life.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired to like go for a hike and meditate and write some poetry all at the same time.
That's the spirit. Go for it. But seriously, I think the big takeaway here is that taking care of yourself is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's the foundation for living a happy, healthy, and fulfilling life.
Absolutely. Self-care is not selfish, it's self-love.
Preach. All right, so we've covered all 7 habits. Any final thoughts before we wrap up this deep dive?
Final thoughts. What really sticks with me is the idea that these habits aren't just for teenagers, they're for everyone.
So true. They're timeless principles that can help anyone live a more effective and fulfilling life, no matter what your age or stage of life.
And it's never too late to start incorporating them into your life, right?
Absolutely not. Every day is a new opportunity to learn, to grow, to become a better version of yourself.
Okay, I love that. So folks, if you haven't already, grab a copy of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. Trust us, it's worth the read.
And start experimenting with these habits. See which ones resonate with you and make a commitment to put them into practice.
And remember, small changes can lead to big results. Just take it one step at a time.
Exactly. You don't have to do it all at once. Just start where you are and keep moving forward.
All right, that was a deep dive and a half. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time for another insightful exploration. Until then, go make your life extraordinary. Okay, so we're back, ready to wrap up our deep dive into the 7 habits of highly effective teens.
You know, one thing that really struck me about this book is how it doesn't shy away from the tough stuff.
Right, like it goes there. It talks about addiction, mental health, even violence.
Yeah, and it doesn't just skim the surface, it dives deep and offers real strategies for dealing with these challenges.
Like, remember Dermo's story?
Oh man, that one was powerful.
The teen who almost sought revenge for his brother's murder,
Heavy stuff.
but he ultimately chose a different path.
Yeah, a path of forgiveness and healing.
It's a powerful reminder that we always have a choice in how we respond to things, even in the face of tragedy.
It really shows how being proactive can change the course of your life.
It's like even when it feels like the world is falling apart, you still have the power to choose how you react.
And that's so empowering.
Speaking of empowering, the book also talks about education.
Yes, but it's not just about, getting good grades and going to college.
It's about becoming a lifelong learner, right?
Exactly. It's about constantly seeking out opportunities to grow and expand your knowledge.
It could be through reading, taking classes, traveling, even just having conversations with people who are different from you.
Yeah. Or tackling a challenge that pushes you outside your comfort zone.
I love that story the author tells about taking an auto mechanics class.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. He says he did it to overcome his family's technical incompetence gene.
Huh. Well, it just goes to show you that learning can happen anywhere.
And it should be fun. It shouldn't feel like a chore.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about habits, we talked about education, but we can't forget about relationships.
Yes, relationships. The book calls them the crown jewels of life.
And they're not always easy, right?
Yep, they take work. But the book gives us a really helpful tool for building strong relationships, the relationship bank account.
We talked about this a bit earlier, but it's so important, it's worth revisiting.
Definitely. It's like every interaction you have with someone is either a deposit or a withdrawal.
So kindness, loyalty, honesty, those are all deposits.
Exactly. And then things like gossip, broken promises, disrespect, those are withdrawals.
I'm remembering that story about Hans taking his little sister to prom.
Oh yeah, that was so sweet.
Talk about a major deposit.
Right. It shows that sometimes the smallest gestures can make the biggest difference.
It's about being present and showing up for the people who matter most.
And remembering that relationships are a two-way street.
You got to put in the effort to get anything out of it.
Exactly. Okay, so relationships check. We've covered a lot of ground. What's standing out to you as we wrap up this deep dive?
You know what's really hitting home for me is this idea that we all have the power to choose our response, no matter what life throws our way.
I love that. It's about taking ownership of your life.
Not letting yourself be a victim of circumstance.
Right. It's about recognizing that you have the power to create the life you want.
And it all starts with those 7 habits.
They're like a roadmap to a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
So if you haven't already, pick up a copy of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens.
It's full of wisdom and practical advice that you can apply to your life right now.
And start experimenting with those habits. See what works for you.
And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. Be patient with yourself and celebrate those small wins along the way.
All right, that's a wrap on our deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
We'll catch you next time for another insightful exploration. Until then, go make your life extraordinary.